Alright, what's up y'all? Welcome back. This is part 2 of our deadlifting, cleaning, and pressing videos that we did earlier this week. So, Parker's here, also helping us out today. This is my lovely assistant, Jessica. She also happens to be my wife. So, she's gracefully volunteered to go through all these movements so I can spend the time coaching and talking through all the points that we drew up on the board in part 1 of this segment. So, let's hop right into it. We're going to start with the deadlift. Okay, the same place we started with the diagrams on the board. Alright, so let's have Jessica set up, feet right under your hips. Okay, so bring your stance in just a little bit closer. Good. So remember, that's going to be your starting position for your deadlifting. Okay, it's a little bit narrower stance than your squatting position is. Okay, hands just outside of your hips or right about at shoulder width. Alright, so let's go ahead and have you descend into the starting position. Alright, so we'll get that barbell down about mid-shin roughly when there's no weight on there. Good. So some of the things we're looking for here, and she's got a pretty good starting position, we want her knees to be pushing out, making contact with those forearms. Okay, so show us a concave one for right now, so let's have those knees dip inside so we can see. Good. This is a pretty common tendency that we want to make sure we avoid with the deadlift. Okay, so go ahead and press those knees back out, Jess. Good. That's kind of where we want to be. Alright, so go ahead and turn to the side. You can relax as you turn. So you can kind of see starting position here. Go ahead and go down to the bottom again. Good. So some of the things we're looking for, again, like we talked about in video 1, she's got a really good, strong back right here. Okay, so she's maintaining that natural S curvature of her back. So I should be able to lay that PVC there, and we see there's not a lot of deviation. She doesn't have a rounded back, so go ahead and get away lazy and show us what a rounded back would look like, Jess. Good, and even still, see, she's a pretty experienced lifter. She's still got a pretty good straight back. There we go. That's kind of what I was looking for. So she's pretty experienced. She has pretty good kinesthetic awareness, so it's kind of natural for her. Go ahead and go back down, and just be really lazy with your shoulders. Just get all hunched. Good. That's what we want to make sure we avoid, okay? And that's pretty common for people who are just starting. Go ahead and get back into a good position for us, Jess. Good. So she's pretty well rooted in her heels right here. A lot of her weight's back, so we're going to load that posterior chain with your glutes and your hamstrings. And then if you have to itch yourself, you can do that too. But the other good thing we saw there is she was over top of that weight with her shoulders, right? Okay, so she was in those heels, but she wasn't too squatty. She was in control of that weight, not letting it win. Okay, so go ahead and go back down. Let's just give us a couple of really good reps here. Good, nice full range of motion. Good. And a common tendency that we're going to see when we're using PVCs, especially because 6 ounces is super light for almost anybody. Go ahead and go back down. We want to make sure we keep really, really good contact. So you want to pull this thing in so that we can have contact with those shins. Okay, and I actually want you to drop back a little bit. So bring your butt up just a hair. There we go. Back, 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 back. Good. So your shins are going to be a little bit more vertical, right? Okay, go down again. I know you're getting tired. Last time we're going to go through, okay? So she's over top, relatively vertical shins because we don't want those knees to be in the way. Okay, so as we've established this back position, again, like we talked about in video 1, we're not going to really change that angle until that barbell becomes clear of her legs, right? And right there, even if she did that rep to stand up and say, I don't want to be in this position anymore, she gave us a good deadlift, right? So it's a pretty natural thing. It's built into our DNA, all right? So go ahead and give us 2 really good reps, nice and slow, and then we'll move on. Good. Maintain contact, really close to your body. Good. And again, with the PVC, it's pretty natural to do it on the front. So there's a deadlift, everything from video 1 broken up into a practical application of it so that you guys can see those things in motion. So let's move on to the clean. We're going to lump these 2 together, and we'll have a separate video for the presses because they're a little bit different. Okay, so we're not going to go from the ground with our cleans, okay, because the very first pull of the clean starting from the floor is going to be exactly like the deadlift. Okay, and since we just went over that, we're going to skip that part, so we're actually just going to learn the clean from the hang position. Okay, but again, we want our feet right under our hips when we start, like we talked about. So go ahead and get in that stance. Feet pretty close, just like the deadlift. All right, and let's have her go ahead and get into her hang position. So first thing that's going to happen is we're going to break here at the hip. Okay, so go ahead and do that and get into your hang. So that bar is going to go right above your knees. Okay, good. I want you to bring your butt a little bit further back. So get in those heels. There, good. And again, she's got a nice flat back. We'll show you that side profile here in a second. Driving those knees to the outside a little more, a little more. And really drive them out. Good. And let's actually have you widen your grip here. Okay, this one will be a little bit different. Just about outside of the shoulders on the grip for the clean, okay? And we'll see for that catch position, that'll make a big difference for the flexibility in your wrists, okay? So that's a pretty good hang position. She doesn't have a huge bend in her knees. Again, you don't want to be too squatty because we want to make sure, as we show you from the side profile, go ahead and turn. Beautiful. From the side profile, we don't want to be too squatty because you want those shoulders over the top of the weight so that you're in control. So let's show us, put your butt down a little bit more like you're squatting. Good. Now you see how that weight's out in front of her. That weight's going to win the battle now, okay? We want to make sure that we maintain control. So come back up a little less knee bend. Good. And there's a good solid position. Go ahead and relax. Okay? So from that hang, we talked about the 3 pulls that we got. Excuse me, from the ground, there's 3 pulls. We're skipping that first one because, again, it's just our deadlift. So go ahead and go back to your hang again. And I want you to just give me 1 triple extension. So keep those arms straight. I want you to pop your hips and shrug your shoulders. Pop. Good. So there's number 1. Okay? From the hang position, that's number 1. Now, the next pull, again, like we talked about, we're going to add the elbows. So that's kind of your guide to tell this bar where you want it to go after we get that explosion from the hips. Okay, so let's add the high elbows now. Pop, elbows. Good. Give us 1 more time so you can see how close that bar stays to her body. Beautiful. And then we're going to string the whole thing together. So go back to your hang position 1 more time for us, Jess. And we're going to see now at the very top of this, after we've guided that bar up with the high elbows, we're just going to throttle like we're riding a motorcycle. Okay? So go ahead and see that. Pop, throttle. Good. Now one thing that we want to change here actually, so this is good. Go ahead and go back to your hang. Again, with 6 ounces, it's going to feel kind of awkward. But the thing that we want to change is when she catches that, I want you to start dropping a little bit sooner. Does that make sense, Jess? Good. All right, let's see that. So get those high elbows, drop underneath. Good. Now that time, if you guys can catch it, we kind of left out the hips. So she didn't get to 5-6 before she started to get back down underneath that bar. Okay, so this time I want you to really think about opening up the hips, and then as soon as you start pulling, come down and get them up. Okay? Up, down. Good. A couple little lumbar issues that we can fix right there, but for the most part, that looks good enough for the purpose of this. Okay, so give us 1 from the side profile, and then 1 face of the camera. Good. Beautiful. Cool. So there's our deadlift, there's our clean. Part 1 and part 2, check those videos out together so that you can put these things all together when you get into the gym, and hopefully we'll see a lot of big gains with all these things getting more technically sound for you. So tune back in for part 2 of the pressing video. Thanks.